Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Brand Studio Live, the series that brings together the country's top CXOs to share their insights into the hottest topics in marketing, branding, and business. I'm Ramit Arora, and as always, we're in the newsroom today with a fresh set of brand masters. Our brand masters are the heroes of this show. They inspire us with their ideas and perspective. They open up new channels of conversation and they give us a lot to learn. Without further delay, let's begin with today's episode. As any marketing leader or business owner would agree, building a strong brand takes effort. It is not a static process, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a continuous cycle of learning, unlearning, and having to dig deep. Research group Kantar says that strong brands are built on four key elements: identifying future growth opportunities, connecting to the culture of consumers, organizing the business for growth, and embracing digital channels. It's also about being able to spell out your core values, being consistent across customer touchpoints, and telling the world about your value proposition and what you bring to the table that nobody else can. How do you remain flexible in dynamic market conditions and conditions like we are in today? More importantly, as a brand, how do you practice long term thinking instead of focusing on the immediate future? These are just some of the questions that we hope to answer in today's episode with today's brand masters. Our first speaker, our guest today, is Sanjeev Kapoor, Chief Commercial Officer of Vistara. Previously, the Chief Operating Officer of SpiceJet, where he brought about a transformational turnaround. Sanjeev has also worked with airlines in Asia, Europe, and in the US. Welcome to the Brand Studio live show, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Ramit.
Building brands with experience, because experience is something that has longevity. Experience is something that has multiple touch points. It has emotion. It has all the makings of something a downturn can't break down. But building brands of experience is also expensive. And it's also the tougher route. Because every time a downturn happens, every time competition makes it tougher for you, experience is the first thing many brands tend to break down. Talk to us a little bit about your journey about building experience brands and building experience brands that don't fall.
You know, building experience brands or connecting with customers doesn't have to be expensive. Both when I was involved in a situation where the airline was going through tough times and currently where we are in a very different situation with my current airline, you don't have to spend a lot of money to connect, but you have to find some means of emotionally connecting with your customers and making them loyal to you and making them stand by you even during the downtime. I think when a brand has gone through difficult times and has made mistakes in the past, I think it's the right thing to do is to say, look, we know we messed up. We'll make it up to you. We're sorry. And then you have to deliver. You have to deliver on the promise. You have to deliver on the earnestness. You have to deliver on the commitment that you're going to do better. With Vistara, we are a very well-funded airline. Legendary parents, Tata and Singapore Airlines. The challenge here is that we are small. We've come late. And it's been hard to grow because of infrastructural constraints, slots, etc. We really focus on differentiation. That how do you make people actually look forward to flying and look forward to flying Vistara? How do you make people say that if Vistara's got a flight, we know Vistara doesn't have as many flights as some other airlines, but if Vistara has a flight, book us on Vistara. And we're doing that by trying to make flying something that you can look forward to again, like you used to in the old days. Yeah. People used to dress up to fly.
Yes.
It was a special occasion. It was something that, you didn't take so much for granted. It was magical. And we want to bring back the magic of flying. We want to bring back the glamour of flying, so to speak. If you watch the TV show Friends, the coffee shop is a third place. Yes. Right, where people can just go and relax and be themselves. Starbucks has said that they're the third place between office and home. Yeah. We want to make them feel like they've entered a place where they can just be themselves and relax and chill. The kind of music we play, the boarding and landing music actually gets us a lot of feedback. People can't believe that we're playing soft rock. We're playing jazz and blues. We're playing music that people grew up to. We came up with a concept called the Retrojet. And we have these special retro flights where we publicize it quite widely. And people who fly it, customers actually dress up for these flights. And they say it's like nothing else. The whole atmosphere, the whole mood, the whole experience is so different that, the number of articles that have been written about the retrojet, uh, the payback on it in terms of coverage, the brand it's helped us build, uh, just the eyeballs it's captured has been tremendous. So for very little investment, find emotional connects, be honest with the customers, make them trust you, make them want to give you, if you're going through troubled times, make them want to give you a second chance. If you're not going through troubled times but you're a new entity, make them try you.
Is it all working? Are there metrics that's showing that the differentiation that you've built in
Right.
terms of the flying experience is actually being rewarded by a customer?
All I can say is that the metrics that are related to brand building are clearly moving in the positive direction. What you hear from travel agents and OTAs and customers directly is that they're willing to pay a modest premium to fly Vistara. I think we're proving that you can still have a premium brand and charge a reasonable premium, and people will pay for it.
Wonderful. Do we have questions from the group?
I'm also a frequent flyer of Vistara, but I've not seen something of those levels basically, where tie up with petrol pumps or stuff like that, which is more user friendly and stuff. So, do you have a program like that? I know you have a program similar, but maybe the kind of a user friendly program that JP Miles has. I think I would request if you could elaborate or explain if you have plans.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. We do have a loyalty program called Club Vistara, but you're absolutely right. We don't have the number of partners that a larger program or a more established program would have. It's a function of two things. Number one is, until recently, we were quite small. Any such partnership for a loyalty program takes a fair bit of investment in IT on both sides. Secondly, because of the unfortunate exit of one player from the market, a lot of partners or entities that were partnered with that player are also now looking at alternatives, and they're approaching us. So I think while you're right that we've been quite light on partnerships, it's been because of a smaller scale and other options that existed for potential partners. The team is working very hard at it, and we are finally getting the kind of traction that one requires to make it work.
So, as you grow and scale, what are your thoughts on keeping the operational service experience at par like it is right now?
And I think that's another excellent question. There are two principles we use, or two things that we keep training our frontline on. One is that, so we train our staff very, very, actively on handling what we call IROPS, irregular operations. That when things go wrong, when flights are delayed, when flights are cancelled, how you communicate with the customers, how you handle them, how you provide them alternatives, etc. The second thing that we do, that we really stress upon in our training, is the concept of human decency, which is just a simple application of the principle, do unto others as you would have them do unto you if you were in a similar situation.
I think this is a fantastic case study in a brand, for a brand built with a lot of maturity, in tune with the times. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was a
Ravi.
great opening session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all. I hope I can make it down without tripping.
I'd now like to introduce my next guest, Apoorva Chamaria, Chief Revenue Officer of RateGain. Prior to RateGain, Apoorva was the global head of corporate marketing for HCL Technologies. In 2016, he was recognized as the Marketeer of the Year by the World Leadership Forum and the Digital Marketeer of the Year by IAMAI. Quickly, Apoorva, the rules of B2B marketing are changing very fast, and internet and technology have made sure that they're changing every day. What do the rules look like? What do B2B players do to stay on course? The small players, the big players, technology, no technology. What's the golden rules?
I personally don't look at B2B marketing and B2C differently. Sure. Predominantly, even in B2B, people buy from people. Companies never buy from companies. Classical rules of marketing still apply. Yeah. And I think marketers have to go back in recessionary times to the core essence of marketing, which for me is three things. Simplicity. Simplify the customer experience, both physical, digital, and service experience. You can't make it very clever. You can't make it overcomplicated. The second is deep empathy. That only comes from really, really well-rooted understanding of customer journeys, understanding customer aspirations, consumer aspirations, their fears, their drivers, their motivations. And third is always be in the business of offering unexpected value. So there is a minimum viable product. A car is supposed to get you from point A to point B. A movie theater is supposed to show you the movie. But can you be in the business of offering unexpected value, which actually creates customer delight? So I think if marketers can think of simplicity, empathy, and unexpected value, they would really, really do themselves and their brands a great deal of service in these turbulent times.
I love the fact that 20 episodes down, every single Brand Studio Live episode finally goes down to marketing 101 and to the basics. But are there any new skills that marketing organizations need? Are there any new ways of thinking that weren't needed 10 years ago? Do we need to co-opt a certain kind of people into our teams now?
Very, very good question. So I always believe that one of the biggest challenges in marketing and business leadership today is we hire more people like us. So typically marketers would go to the same top business schools, hire more people like them, and you perpetuate a culture of similar thinking. You're still not hiring people from liberal arts. You're still not hiring graphic designers. You're still not hiring people from NSD who are trained in storytelling. You're still not hiring data scientists. How can a similar homogeneous team deliver heterogeneous, unexpected results? So I think we have to be more courageous. We have to practice braver, bolder marketing, and we have to get a cross-disciplinary team. That's the opportunity before us.
Clearly, what you're saying is fresh ideas is the order of the day, and you need to co-opt as many ideas as you can from the world into your teams.
Yes.
But does that also mean that, and I know you've written about this, that leadership thinking needs to change, because you can co-opt people, but finally a lot of the strategic direction is happening at the level of the leader.
You're completely right. So my second book, Mastering Growth Hacking, was about how the top 10 internet companies in India have really, really mastered the art of non-linear growth by doing very, very frugal innovation, cut-through marketing. And one of the ways in which leadership has to change is we all have to become servant leaders. From being rockstar CEOs, rockstar CMOs, who know it all, who have all the answers, who are the loudest voice in a meeting room, and occasionally the only voice in the meeting room, to actually really, really becoming servant leaders, listening more, co-opting ideas, and often the best innovation will come from outside our industry. So what can auto companies learn from media companies? What can media companies learn from mobility companies? What can both learn from the way telecom marketing is being done? So servant leadership becomes very important. Second is authentic leadership. And one of the core parts of building a sustainable brand is when you define your higher purpose thinking, I would only call it true if during downturns you can stay true to your core. Or do you give up your purpose as soon as you hit a turbulent patch and you get back to doing whatever is immediate, whatever is profitable?
Fantastic messages. Go back to the basics, bring in fresh ideas, and the whole concept of a new leadership, which is actually servant leadership. Very, very fresh thoughts. Thank you so much. It was fantastic having you here.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to welcome my next guest, Konya Khanna, Head of Marketing, Swarovski India. Konya has worked in the premium luxury goods and lifestyle space with a focus on apparel and jewelry. Her expertise lies in driving business results through brand leadership, positioning, retail leadership, trend analysis, and overall marketing management. The perspective that I have is that product brands that have purpose and have slightly higher order purpose are always the product brands that have longevity and stamina. Talk to us a little bit about that, both from the lens of Swarovski and the brands that you worked with, and from the fact that you actually operate in a premium, almost luxury space. How important is purpose to a product brand?
And I think it's a fantastic question about purpose of brands, because what I've seen, and personally I believe that purpose for any brand, whether it's a product brand, it's a platform brand, it's any brand actually. I think purpose is key, and that's what makes the brand live many, many years. So And when we talk about Swarovski also being a product brand, we are now managed by the 5th generation Swarovski family members. It's a family held company, and what's been key is from when the founder started. It's when Daniel Swarovski started Swarovski in 1895. His vision and his purpose was to make a diamond for every woman. So it was very much about luxury, but it was about inclusive luxury. So we're always working with other industry partners. We're working with trend leaders. We're working with brands. We're working with the leading designers. So we're always working with different people to create products with Swarovski crystals. So I don't know how many people know, but in 1895 when Swarovski as a brand was started, it was always a B2B brand, and the B2C face of Swarovski that you all see now, when the first stores were only set up in 1980. So that's relatively recent for a brand that's going to be 125 years next year. I totally agree that having a very strong purpose and emotionally connecting with your I would not even say consumer, but your family almost of your consumer family is very, very key. And I think what's important for most brands that have seen this longevity.
Fantastic. I do have another question, but I'm going to ask if, yeah, Sudeep.
People in India are traditional gold investors, be it jewelry or whatever, So what is the change? How did you go about shifting the mindset from glitter to light?
So it's very interesting. So 2001, when we came into the country, when Swarovski came into the country, and actually I joined Swarovski at that time as part of the first team. At that time, gold was almost at like 6,000-7,000 for 10 grams, and a pair of Swarovski earrings was around 3,000-4,000. I remember, rupees. So you could definitely get a gold pair of earrings, the same size as a Swarovski pair of earrings. But, at that point, there was an exact comparison. Then, of course, gold prices started rising. So, fast forwarding to 2014, we saw through Euromonitor reports that there was still a wide gap in the market for premium costume jewelry or fashion jewelry. Because the only brand in the country at that time that was providing this was our own brand, Swarovski. But today, the consumer is changing across age groups, and they want to travel. They want to travel with jewelry. They want to, they want to make it easy. Like, just put it in my, in my dresser, and, I can just change things around, have 4 looks a day, carry jewelry in my bag.
Young customers, today's customers, versus their parents and their grandparents. How has the relationship with the brand changed, and how has the brand evolved in its proposition to young people versus the proposition to their parents 20 years ago?
So it's a very interesting question, and like you said, parents and grandparents. So we have people who say that, okay, my grandmother gave me this piece of a figurine, and it's I need it repaired like this, and can you do this for us? So we offer that kind of service. So what's been consistent is that the brand has been loved across generations. What has been loved of the brand has been constantly changing. So whilst for the generation, like our parents' generation or the grandparents' generation that traveled out of the country, went to certain locations, got like pieces of figurines back, decorated it in their nice showcases and all, that was what Swarovski was, say, in 2001. A jewelry brand. So because that's easier. So the customer loves the product, but now they would like to carry it around. So the jewelry categories, I mean, of course, the figurines will always be the legacy, but the jewelry category is, so much more easier to, carry with you. So that's changed. Then comes, the next generation who are wearing T-shirts and who want to express themselves like that. So I don't know if many people know, but a lot of the brands like even Levi's and Gap make T-shirts with Swarovski crystals. So, you have slogans, or you have, you can do personalization, or you can get a pashmina shawl and, have your name written on it. So there's a lot of kind of things that are happening.
What a great story of a brand that's kept its shine through generations and reinvented itself so many times. Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you.
lovely having you.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome my next guest, Juhi Gurvara, Head Group Marketing and E-Commerce Philips for the Indian subcontinent. Juhi has over 17 years of work experience in areas such as strategic marketing, brand and reputation management, public relations, digital marketing, what have you. Prior to Philips, she was global marketing leader at Arisent, now Ultra.
Yeah.
Especially since you deal with so many categories and so many different types of customers, does the brand need a purpose or a larger purpose to manage its way through weeks, months, years, decades, good times, bad times? How important is that purpose in defining what you're in business for and what you're delivering?
So with Philips, I'm sure most of you know that the brand has existed for a really long time. We're 120 years old globally. In India, it's going to be 90 years by the end of the year. So the way a brand like this sustains for these long years is because of a purpose. So for us, it is about building a healthier and more sustainable world through our products. Our goal is to touch and improve the lives of 3 billion people a year by the year 2030. So with that vision in mind, every product that we create, we are working within the health continuum of making an impact in the lives of people. Our tagline, innovation in you, speaks for itself. We're innovating for the people we're selling to. It is products that are directly helping them in some way or the other. So that's the basis of the innovation we create.
So how do you sort of move from here is the purpose, here is why the company exists, here is what we're going to do, to this is what the consumer is seeing and this is how they'll recognize what we're doing, why we're different, and why we're more trustworthy?
Sure. So in this journey with us, the consumer moves with us. Their feedback is what helps us evolve and innovate further. Now, our business is primarily health technology. We divide it into large categories around the B2 business is health services, and the B2C business is personal health. So with personal health, it is the consumer products that most of us would be aware of, where we have brand ambassadors talking to people, selling our products for them. They stand for a certain value. They stand for their credibility. So we're very careful when choosing these ambassadors who speak to the consumer for us. On the other side, where we're doing the health business, there, while we're not selling directly to the consumer, we are selling to healthcare practitioners, we're selling to hospitals, we work with the government. But there, I think it matters even more because our brand is saving the lives of people. We need to know how it's helping them, touching their lives, the testimonials, the feedback that we get based on diagnosis and prevention of diseases really helps us evolve.
Actions build the brand.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying. And large brands often compete with small brands in the same space.
Right.
How do you manage to bring a value proposition like that out? How do you manage to keep the brand alive? How do you keep the brand sort of standing above the rest of its competition?
Sure. So it's, we do have competitors, new competitors coming up each day in most of our categories because, like you mentioned in the beginning, there are so many categories. Yeah. So within each of those categories, we've got to ensure the product, one, speaks to the right target audience and engages them in a meaningful way. With digital marketing, there are ways to reach people specifically how and where you want to. So we use the right tools for that. With platforms like Amazon and Flipkart, reviews and ratings play a key role. So we do have our targets for that. We want to make sure those are all genuine comments that are coming from the consumer. And we take them pretty seriously by not just using them to sell our products, but also learning from them. And again, the innovation piece comes back there. So based on what consumers would want, we're listening to them and innovating accordingly.
Okay. Are there any questions on the group?
Philips is, of course, an iconic brand, and it's been. What I particularly find very unique about Philips is Philips has exited a lot of categories. And it's exited with the brand name. So Philips Lighting, a lot of us, some of us might not know, is no more a part of Philips. But they use the word Philips and it's Philips Lighting.
Right.
And I guess there is a royalty agreement for a couple of years, which means it's a very, very commercial brand. And this maniac focus on staying relevant, continuously moving to a new category, exiting categories which are not the core, So what's the sutra which holds this all together?
So thanks, Apoorva. About 128 years ago, when we started, yes, Philips started with the lighting world. That's what the company stood for then. But over the years, as brands evolve, companies end up taking the decisions that help them sustain themselves and grow. And with our larger purpose being impacting the lives of people in a positive way, there were choices that needed to be made to make us more sustainable, to keep that purpose going with the brand name. The products that we made had to fit within that, and whatever made the maximum business sense. So that's a decision that was taken for the brand.
There is legacy to the brand. How do you manage that legacy, especially in an age when brands need to evolve and evolve fast? How do you manage that transition? Because legacy possibly has this way of pulling you back into a generation ago.
Right. So over the generations, people have associated with various products. There is a generation that would associate with the radios that came out. There is a generation that would then associate with the lighting.
Yes.
And today there is the millennials that would go with the styling products in male grooming, female grooming. So with the consumer products, that transition has been very distinct because the products have been very varying in nature. So I think when I said earlier, listening to the consumer becomes extremely important, and also responding to them. There are times when people would reach out to us asking for a product that we no longer make, but because they owned the product, they feel that we're responsible towards taking a call on whether that product works, doesn't work, transition to a new one, whatever the question might be. We've got to handle that delicately, make sure they don't lose the trust in the brand, and help them in a very genuine way.
And Philips is certainly a brand that has used its legacy of trust to transcend many generations in many tough times, and not just survived but grown.
Right.
Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
wonderful having you here.
Likewise. Wonderful being here.
My next guest is the Director of PR and Corporate Communication for Volvo Auto India, Sudeep Narayan. Sudeep is an old friend who's taken numerous initiatives pertaining big brand philosophy and the whole Design for You platform, and partnered with big events like Aircel, Open Championship, an illustrious career in advertising and marketing. Welcome back to the show, Sudeep. From whatever I can see around me, legacy brands, mini legacy brands, are having to do lots of soul searching, often crashing under the weight of their legacy, often losing their premium and succumbing to the pressures of what's happening in the world. So how do you manage the premium in the premium brand, especially with the kind of legacy that Volvo has?
Talk about legacy. I think words like disruption, startups, these are not 10 years old. They have been existing. I mean, look at us. 50 years back, we disrupted the market by giving the seat belt free of cost.
Wow.
So that's an invention, right? And we gave it
Free of cost.
free of royalty free to all. So there is a little bit of Volvo in every car. The story remains safety for Volvo, right? So we started making safer cars, or cars for safer people. Now we've started sustainability, which is safe for the environment. We go by this freedom to move in a safe, sustainable, and a personal way. And that's where we've re-engineered the brand. So there is a section, or rather there is a company called Volvo Cars Tech Fund, right? Imagine a car company investing in tech firms. And the human-machine interface is where we have taken a very giant leap. So what we do in Nordic countries is there is a cloud-based service, okay? So let's say, there it's icy. So roads can be very slippery. So let's say a Volvo goes, you drive a Volvo, your Volvo is going and the wheel slips. There's a message that goes to the cloud service. Let's say I'm coming a kilometer behind you. I will get that message exactly at what point will your wheels slip. So even if the road is, let's say, 110 kilometers per hour, I will come down to 60. If there is a traffic accident, it will immediately inform me, especially in snowy conditions, when they're bumper to bumper. So my question is, if you're building durable brands, then your philosophy needs to be the same, not changed, but the avatar of philosophy needs to be in tune with the times.
An article that I read said that almost every car that got released in the world over a decade and came to India and stripped down prices, the first thing they removed was safety features. And that's how they saved the cost, right? And here we're talking about safety as premium.
Yes.
What does premium mean in your case? Has the definition of premium changed? Does it now border around luxury, or is it just not discounting?
Fantastic question. I think, yeah, the market dynamics, everybody is discounting. But I think the biggest luxury in life is life itself. So once somebody realizes that, we haven't changed our car. In fact, our cars in India are much more higher spec than cars in Europe and US. Because here, the customer is very discerning. We sell about 60 to 70% of our top-end versions. The base models don't sell. While some of our competition, it's their base model that sells.
Yep.
So one needs to understand that you're either in the business of discounting or you're in the business of luxury. We're selling 2,000 cars, but the kind of loyalty that we are gaining, and I'd like to talk about two loyalties. Everybody talks about customer loyalty. I think non-customer loyalty is equally important, because your current non-customers are going to be customers later on, and we have a very strong loyalty in both customers as well as non-customers.
Is there any question? Yes.
These very high-end premium, very expensive cars with all these lovely technology, a small nick and goes to the garage and
Absolutely
50,000
right, Sanjeev.
rupees, 1 lakh rupees.
Absolutely right, but it's the trade-off. So if my worth to my organization, to my family, or whatever, if I value that worth in terms of road safety, see, people don't. I think we need to educate people. How many of us wear seatbelts in the rear? It's a must. I mean, how many times have you seen in print, in the newspaper, that the car is completely banged and people have lost their life, but the seat is absolutely intact? So if you're stuck to the seat, it's common sense. Nothing's going to happen to you. Unless until it's a very, very, rash speed of 120, 130, whatever. I mean, then no car can save you,
I think it's always very admirable when a brand stays true to its core and staunchly true to its core and is willing to grow slower but stronger and ride through on the strength of a very, very strong core. So thank you so much, Sudeep. That was fantastic. What a great case study. I'm very pleased to invite my next guest, Smita Murarka, Head Marketing, Amante MAS Brands. Smita has worked with brands like Lifestyle, Louis Philippe, and Alan Solly in her career, having steered the launch and growth of many companies, be it related to apparel, accessories, or footwear. Smita has a deep understanding of consumer fashion needs. Smita has been a part of the Brand Studio Live before, and it's a real pleasure to have you back. Smita, in a category that's 90%, maybe 95% unorganized, that is very price sensitive, unfortunately very price sensitive, and where you're actually trying to build category information. How do you manage to retain the core of, or the authenticity of who you are, the values that you're trying to bring to this category, and the core message that your whole brand has been built around, which is a complete contrast to everything else that this category is?
I think today more than ever it's becoming more and more important to be authentic and true to your promise, because conversations are getting carried forward, conversations are getting multiplied. For a brand like ours, which has been around over 12 years in India and has over 3 decades of expertise in the same category, authenticity is the core of everything that we do, and it comes very easily. So this brand was started by the parent MES Holdings, which is based out of Sri Lanka. It has about over 3 decades of designing and manufacturing for the world's best lingerie brands. And that itself means what we're able to offer to the Indian consumer is much more superior, because our technology, our innovations, we are fully backwardly integrated. So what we are able to offer at a similar price is far more superior. And that's something that got us started in this country 12 years back, and it has kept us alive. So our conversation, our marketing efforts have been to really drive understanding. Earlier, we were talking about confidence. Today, our narrative is similar. Of course, we have to liaison with the consumers in a very different way because the millennial audience is conversing in a different language. So that changes, but we still are talking about what is confidence to the consumer, what is being really, confident inside out, and what a difference that makes. But because we are authentic to our promise, the loyalty comes naturally.
And consistency is the key.
Yes.
Because the one thing that you've done for all of these years is be consistent, not change course.
Yes. So when we launched our first runaway differentiator was a product which was offered by other brands in a very lackluster way, or it was almost like a compromise. And we said, if you're going out, if you're a working woman, or if you're a woman who wants to dress up well and needs a certain kind of product, you don't need to compromise on the way you feel. So we did offer styling along with functionality, and today also that's our differentiator, fashion along with functionality, where you don't need to compromise one versus the other, where probably in a lot of other brands and other options available, they do that. So that's something that we've stayed consistent in.
Except that at the points at which you're available, the type of customer that you're now encountering has very different aspirations from 12 years ago or 5 years ago. And possibly their fashion needs have also changed. How has the brand evolved with that?
In this category, functionality is still a core. So even if the consumer's discerning and fashionable consumer for outerwear, there's a lot of functionality that she still needs. So we've in fact been at the forerunner of that, and we've offered fashion with functionality. That's something unique to us because that's our signature, that's our differentiator, that's something that other brands are not able to offer. Fashion only in this category is very frivolous. It's not something that you can buy into. So if there are consumers who are buying into that, they probably know better. That's why knowledge and content becomes very important. So once they've adopted a brand like ours, it's very difficult to take them away unless we falter on our promises.
So there's lots of loyalty?
Yes. So authenticity is a driver, a lever for loyalty in this category. In fact, that's something that's really sustained us.
And in this whole functionality plus fashion, the dual sort of value proposition, what happens when there are bad times and when other categories are hit and there are price wars? Is this a category that's disrupted?
Yes, absolutely. Because somebody was telling me, the economic situation is also driven by something called the underwear index.
Okay.
So that's something, even the largest of economies follow. So in this industry, definitely the consumption of undergarments is a big, reflection. However, even though our industry has experienced slowdown 3 years back when demonetization happened.
What does the index show?
So the index shows slowdown, of course, because the number of pieces have gone a little slower. But that has happened in the high premium and the more fashion-oriented categories. Since it's a basic category, the basic products still continue. However, this category has also seen some crazy numbers in the last 5 years that I've been part of the category. So about 40 to 50% growth year on year over 5 years is something that we've enjoyed for a long time.
Awesome. Any questions?
MES Holdings or company makes lingerie for some of the leading brands. I think Victoria's Secret and a lot of them, and they're also all all of your customers are also looking at India as a key market. So how do you keep the balance with your own house-grown brand versus the brands you supply to as your key customers in Sri Lanka?
Today, most of the leading brands are stemmed from partners or from parent companies which have been suppliers, right? Because that's where your expertise comes from. If we cater to over 100 brands, we know the category like nobody else. Yes. And that's a way to grow, right? Because if you know a category so well, the only next organic movement is to launch a brand of your own. So the teams are different. That's why we have MES Brands, which is the branded division, and there's MES Holdings, which is the supplier division, which operates completely different. So this is something that most of the leading companies are doing, and that's the reason why we are able to innovate ahead of competition.
On that note, and having learned a lot, thank you so much. An admirable brand journey, yes. I'm very happy to invite my next guest, Ali Rizvi, National Sales Manager, Garmin India. Being in this capacity for over 8 years now, Ali's been instrumental in extending the overall leadership in Garmin. In the past, he's held leadership positions in organizations such as the Hindustan Times, welcome back, and the Indian Express and Bharti Airtel Limited. My question to you is, one thing that has changed our lives is technology. It's brought down cost, it's democratized the world, it's allowed the small player to compete with the big player. Since you have direct experience in your category with how technology can actually either level the playing field or give you a competitive advantage, talk to us about that.
So let me just first of all start with explaining something a brief about Garmin so that people could understand that what we do in India. So Garmin has 5 different product lines. We are into aviation, outdoor, marine, fitness, and automotive, and that is what Garmin makes out of it. So we have gone through a lot of transition, a phase where Garmin was predominantly focused towards portable navigation device, or we call it as a personal navigation device, which gets fitted into any car. And then Google came in, and it was like a good change that happened. And the company really transformed itself from a predominantly focused towards portable navigation device to a company which is into lifestyle. So we got the technology which is of GPS into your wrist. That is what is. So navigation could happen from your wrist. Stress is in everybody's life. Yes. It's all about management. And our product tells you what is a stress score, and not only tells you a problem, but also gives you breathing exercises so that you are able to control your heart rate and your stress score basically. So this is just an example I give. There are various other features like SpO2, volume of oxygen level. When you're going up, especially towards the hills, your oxygen level in blood could come down drastically and you would not even know. And these kind of features or sensors that Garmin has developed over a period of time in order to make life more simpler, navigation more simpler, and that is what Garmin is all about.
Wearable technology is the new it.
Yes.
It's what's defining our new urban millennial lifestyle. Is wearable technology therefore your crusade to the world, and is it what's going to define the brand? What's that journey looking like?
Very apt question. I think in Garmin's journey, this has played a very critical role, transiting from mainly from automotive to a lifestyle, and our products like wearable devices played a very significant role in order to make the brand competitive and to stay. What we very strongly believe is superior quality as compared to the competitors. For example, I tell you, there are a lot of smartwatches available in the market, but we came up with a watch which does not require a smartwatch, which does not require a charging. It was awarded as a best innovative product at CES 2014, Vivo Fit 1, and now we have a generation. Now we have a 4th generation product. So I think we have gone through a transition in a big way, and technology plays a very important role. And in order to stay relevant, it is very important to innovate.
I'm going to be provocative and say that technology, especially wearable technology, comes in so many forms these days, including from phone manufacturers. It's coming into our lives from everywhere.
Yeah.
But I have a sense that design is actually the piece on top of this technology.
Yes.
That's driving a lot of consumer demand. Talk to us a little bit about design and what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I think you made a very valid point. So what we have done is we have segregated our clientele. So we have, and we offer products to each and every category. For example, we have a product, you'd be surprised to know we have a product for kids. We call it as Vivo Kid Junior. So that's one. We tied up with, and then in order to, we went a step ahead and we tied up with partners like Disney. So we made Disney characters for kids in order to make it for kids. Now we tied up with Star Wars characters and a lot of other stuff. That is one aspect. Then guys who are just growing in college, we made a product which is called Instinct, which is for college goers. The best part about, you would be very surprised to know, it is India's first product with US military standards, MIL 810G. In order to make it cut it short, very simple, you throw it from a 3rd floor, it would not break off. Something very, and it is compatible to Android, iOS platform, very good battery life. That is what is the change that we try to bring. We never ever believe in Me Too stuff. Whatever products that we come out with, whether it's aviation, outdoor, marine, fitness, automotive, we always try to bring something which is innovative, something which is, like I told you, a product which does not require a charging. It's an innovation within the category itself.
Anybody with a question?
In different ways, but probably your category and brand is very similar to what we do in lingerie, where you not only have to educate the consumer on the technology and what it offers, but also the brand.
Yeah.
So, how do you manage that? Because consumers would probably be willing to pay for a known brand, which is out there in the open.
What we have done is, for last 3 years, in order to build this category, we have built 2 exclusive brand stores in India. One is in Delhi, one is in Bangalore, and we plan to have few more brand stores in tier A cities. That is one. Second, what we have done is introduce chatbot, so that we could, for example, I tell you about SpO2, volume of oxygen level, a lot of other stuff. People would love to know more. So chatbot is another aspect. We launched customer care number, toll-free number, so that customer could call up and ask more about our features, services. We have established in last couple of years 2 service repair centers, because these are watches which requires service aspect. So these are the stuff that has been done. Apart from this, we tied up with players, exclusive players like Helios, Just in Time, Shoppers Stop. These are the places where customer could go, experience our products. That is what we have done over a period of time, and we would continue investing in order to have a better experience for the end customers.
Super. On that note, Ali,
Right.
thank you so much. It was wonderful having you here.
Pleasure.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on episode 4 of Brand Studio Live Season 2, co-hosted by the HD Brand Studio in DMA Asia. A heartfelt thanks to our friends from DMA Asia and Vatsal Asher for powering this event. Big thank you to our radio partner Fever FM, who helps evangelize the concept. We'll be back with another episode soon. Stay tuned.